Hello folks, this week I've been spending some time with the Lexus UX300e. This is the first all-electric car from Lexus. This one's the Premium Plus spec. That one comes in at about 46 grand and it has a claimed range of 196 miles. Competition for this car will be things like the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Polestar 2 possibly, the Kia e-Niro, and of course the Skoda Enyaq and the VW ID4. Let's check it out. These 17-inch wheels have a great tyre profile to help with that ride quality. Whilst it's not roomy in the back, you can accommodate 4 6-foot adults, although there could be a bit more room to put your feet. So before we get into anything EV related, what's this thing like as a car? Forget the fuel, what's it like as a car? So that means what's it like to drive? And you know what, it's really nice. It's not exceptional in any particular way other than being very comfortable, extremely smooth and just really nice to drive. So we took the kids down to Weymouth this weekend, and for the first time in about 5 years my daughter fell asleep on the way home, and I think really that's testament to the fact that the car is so comfortable, really comfortable seats, really nice ride, and obviously it's very quiet being an EV. So onto the interior. Build quality is very good, as you would expect with a Lexus. Some of the plastics are a bit harder than I would like for a car of this price point, and there does seem to be a little bit of an odd mismatch. You've got these lovely luxurious seats, really nice gear selector and metal surround. It's got very chunky leather steering wheel which feels quite luxurious. It won't be to everyone's taste because it's so chunky. For me, despite having man-child hands, I find it really, really comfortable and it feels super luxurious. Really nice quality leather on it as well. You've got an analog clock sitting up there, and then you've got this tiny little screen which feels 20 years out of date to me. It's a 7-inch screen, and if you go up to Takumi level, I believe is where it kicks in, you get a 10-point-something inch screen. But it's just really low res, and the infotainment system in general does not really belong on a Lexus. This car that I'm in right now has a 196 mile range. Obviously that drops by about 20-30 miles if you put the aircon on, as is the case with most EVs. And it doesn't have particularly fast charging, so this one's got a Chademo connector rather than the CCS, which is like the European standard if you like. And that can do 50 kilowatt charging at its maximum. You've also got a traditional Type 2 connector on the car, so you can plug it from a granny plug which comes supplied with the car, or from a normal home charger. So boot space is another thing that's slightly disappointing. It's 367 litres, so you can get a good weekly shop in there. There is a cubby space beneath where you can store your charging cables, although once you take them out it's quite difficult to get them back in. But what's really lacking is the frunk. I think you could live with that boot space if you had the frunk to put your cables away, as that space beneath the boot is quite tight, and of course if you've got the boot loaded and you need to get your charging cables out, it means unloading the boot to get to them. I think a frunk in this car would have worked really, really well. Because this car was designed as a hybrid vehicle or a petrol vehicle primarily, and converted to an EV at a later stage, there's no frunk, and I can understand the reasons for that. So I'm just cruising along now at 50 miles an hour, and you couldn't really be in a more comfortable place. It's very quiet. Obviously there's a bit of wind noise from the mirrors, but really it's quite quiet. It's very smooth, it's got a really nice ride, and for doing a little cruise, it's an absolute joy, to be fair. It's also quite sprightly when it wants to be. Being an EV, obviously it can deliver its power rather quickly. 0 to 60 time on this car is 6.9, but it does feel quicker somehow, as EVs often do. The main issue with it, if you want to get that power down, is actually getting that power down. If you accelerate too enthusiastically, this is a front wheel drive car, and very quickly that traction control kicks in. So it's not always easy to put that power down, but if you do want a little burst of speed, you want to overtake something, believe me, you won't be left wanting. So this car just has the standard stereo system, and the sound quality is absolutely more than adequate. You have to go up to that top Takumi level to get the upgraded sound system, which is the Levinson. Amazingly, you also need to go up to Takumi to get a built-in sat-nav. So whilst this car's got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as standard, you need to go up to the Takumi level to actually get a built-in sat-nav. That's no drama for me because I much prefer to use Apple CarPlay to most built-in systems anyway. The layout of everything's fairly familiar. You don't constantly have things binging and bonging at you. You don't have to search through menus to perform basic functions. So it does have a real simplicity to it that a lot of cars don't anymore. So if you were going to go out and pay full price on a new car and you're looking in this sort of segment, you know, you'd be foolish not to go and look at the competition, because there are all-round packages that are a bit more compelling than this one when it comes to shelling out your hard-earned cash. What I will say with this is that there have been some absolutely fantastic lease deals. If you watch my lease deals of the month videos, you will have seen these featured quite a few times. Some of the lease deals that have been on them have been fantastic value for money, especially when you compare it to some lease deals on some of those cars that don't cost anywhere near as much as this one. These could also make a very good used buy in a year or two, because let's not forget, Toyota, Lexus, one of the world's most reliable car makers. So here we are having a little pootle through the New Forest with ponies aplenty in the way. I think this one might be on a suicide mission. And this car's really in its element. It's just so smooth, so quiet. A lot of EVs can have a very firm ride because of all that battery weight. This one doesn't. It's a really nice ride without being too boaty. Despite the imperfections that this car has, and it does have several, I'll still be sad to see it go, because it's just a nice thing to sit in and drive. I think if they'd given this a bit more range, a bit more storage space, and a better infotainment system, and possibly a better standard level of spec, I'd be absolutely raving about this car. But as it is, I can't. But what I can say to you is it's not a bad car, it's a good car. It's just not an exceptional car. So whilst this, their first ever all EV, is not the best car they've ever produced, Lexus and Toyota have got plans to put out some really exciting vehicles in the next few years. And the thing we know most about Lexus and Toyota is they produce reliable cars, durable cars, really solid cars. And we shouldn't expect their EVs to be any different in that respect to their internal combustion engine cars. So if you're in the market for a small mid-size SUV, certainly check one of these things out. If you're not too worried about infotainment systems and you're happy to just use your Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you don't need a massive screen, you know, by all means check one out. And as I said, there are fantastic lease deals on these from time to time. And despite the fact that others may have a much cheaper sticker price than this, if you're looking at a lease, you really can get a deal on these quite often. I'll put a link to Lease Loco in the video description, and that will go straight to Lexus UX300es, so you can check out the latest deals for yourself. Please give this video a thumbs up, guys, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. The data on my previous review videos suggests that over 80% of you watching this won't be subscribed. I do lots of car content on this channel, so please give it a subscribe. Thanks ever so much for watching. I'll see you next time.